Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. What's up? Buzz, Laurent Krings, OZD1, Luchko, Lil Davis, Poseidon, Andy K, IG Jazz. How you guys doing? So, yeah, the idea and fact of reality TV. Aloha. The idea of today's stream, I kind of had this project here. I'm kind of happy with the arrangement and stuff, but I feel like there's one or two layers missing. So I think it could be cool to maybe add those and incorporate a couple of sound design thingies on the modular while I do so. So I haven't actually unpatched my modular since the last session. You guys must just let me know if the volumes are okay and stuff. I think I might have to turn up my DAW a little bit for myself. Anyway, so yeah, I haven't actually unpatched. So what I'll do is I'll let the track play while you guys hear what's happening here so far while I unpatch some things. Maybe I'll switch over to this view so you guys can have a look at what's happening on the modular. A couple of things have changed since, I think since the last time you guys have seen it. There's this new kind of stereo field mixer thing. It's super simple, but actually really, really clever. I'm going to try to show you guys how that works a little bit later. And then another dual VCA that's basically just used to kind of mix as like a crude mixer if I need it, as well as, you know, extra VCA. Other than that, yeah, I've kind of tried to simplify things a little bit into a single case and try to separate things. So I'll have like one case that's going to be more like drums and that kind of thing, and then this is going to be more like synths and effects type of things. But anyway, yeah, trying to simplify things a little bit. So yeah, let me play the track for you guys while I unpatch some things. If you have any questions, then just at me in the chat. And yeah, let's get going. fact of reality TV. It can be mind-blowing in times. Best to start simple and know your functions and routing. I think that's kind of the idea that why I kind of wanted to simplify things to try to get the most out of each module in each system, rather than trying to like create an entire thing to do jams with. Have like specific parts that I kind of know, if that makes sense. So treat each part like its own separate synth, and then know the workings of that part and that kind of thing. So I probably want to set up a few things in the DAW before we get going here. I think, we could start with creating like a bit of a melody type thing. There's not much melodic stuff happening in this track. I guess there's like a couple of things, but not really like much melody things. And I kind of had an idea to get a cool, I'm not sure if it'll work. All the cables just got removed. I'm about to redo it. Experiment a little bit. So where was I? I have an idea so for those who don't know what this guy is, this is the Make Noise mimeophone, or mimeophone, however you want to pronounce that. It's, for lack of a better explanation, it's a delay processor, but it's got so much more than that. So it's basically got this thing called zones, which allows you to change like the speed. Each zone has like an amount of different delay times which it can work with. So the really high zones act kind of like a phaser kind of effect, and you can like modulate that, so you can create these kind of like phaser filter type things with it as well. But then also, like, if you clock it and then you change the zones like while it's playing, you can get these kind of almost spangle type melodies where I'm not sure which spangle track it is, but there's this kind of like arpeggiated type thing which has these delays which almost sound like glitchy retriggers. So I managed to do something like that the other day, so I want to try create something like that again. So let's hope and pray that it works out. That's always the kind of thing about modular. It's often hard to recreate the same stuff, especially if you're in a bigger system. Another reason why I kind of try to simplify things a little bit. So what do I want to do? Let's put in a MIDI track so that I can actually send MIDI to the synth, and we can like program like a MIDI melody or something in the project, and then we can focus on creating like modulations and stuff there, and focus on the sound design there rather than sequencing it there, because that might give us a little bit more control over like how we play these melodies and stuff like that. So did I click that? Why didn't that work? There we go. That's strange. So let's set this to the output that I'm using for the synth. And I also want to create an audio input. I believe this one is my synth. We can just call this synth input. Are you running out straight analog, or are you converting to digital before output, meaning output to DAC audio interface? So I don't have like an output module in the synth. I'm basically running these. You'll see there's like an orange and black cable that it's currently plugged into, like the last effects module on the right hand side. These lines are basically running directly into my audio interface. So my actual audio interface in the computer is acting as the digital to analog converter, if that makes sense. Let's just see if this is working. We can actually solo these channels, click this monitor, and then let's draw in some MIDI here. Okay, well, I see it flashing there, so that is a good sign. I'm just going to draw in something simple for now. We can always come in and change it once we have like a patch going. I wonder what key this track is in. Do I have any MIDIs? Or have I deleted everything? Oh gosh. Okay, there we go. It's in F sharp. That should be +6, I think. So this should be sending MIDI to the synth. Yeah, that looks like it's sending MIDI. Let's just change these octaves to see if it's like actually sending pitch information as well. Okay. So we can see here this hex inverter mutant brain. This is basically like the MIDI to CV converter that I'm using. You can see that the gate is flashing and the CV is actually changing color. So that pitch information should be coming through to the synth, which is a good start. And what I usually like to do is, if, for example, we're going to be using the mind phaser, complex oscillator, I generally want to use these like mults to plug the pitch in, so just so I have the two oscillators kind of at the same pitch. Let's just see here. I'm just going to quickly patch something so we've got some audio coming through. Is this going to be long enough here? Yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, there is something. Okay, let's put on a filter just so we can like modulate that with a gate and stuff, just so it's not so grinding. Okay, let's see. Let's do trigger that into FM amount. So what I want to do is I want to clock this with the tempo that's coming out of the DAW. And this like circles thing here, this is basically the clock input. So I want to trigger this VCA input as well using the same envelope, just so that we've got a bit more control over like the cutoff as well as like the actual tone of the sound. I mean like the whether it's playing or not, if that makes sense. Short cable up here, there we go. I'm getting carried away here. Okay, wait, one more thing. LFO, I think. Let's use this ornament in crime. I actually recently installed a new thing on here called Hemisphere Mode. Well, it's not new, but for me it's new, which has got so many different things. They're like a lot more simplified than the traditional ornament in crime, but you can use them. There's like two separate machines. So like you can have one side doing like an LFO and another side doing something else, like a sequence or something. So it's very, very, very cool. So let's create like maybe an LFO here. Is this the right mode? No clouds anymore, bro. It's Clouds V2 now, don't you know? The sound's slightly out of tune, so let me just grab a tuner real quick. Yeah, it is out of tune. Slightly. Okay, the timing is off. It's another thing I need to quickly fix. So I've got a main out channel which all of my like DAW groups are feeding through. Just ignore the fact that I've done some smiley EQ there. It's a big no-no, but it worked in this example. I just want to delay the channel by the amount of samples that my excuse me, that my thing is set to. It would actually be double, I believe, because it's in and out. Let's just see. For some reason there's like a E coming out there, and I'm like totally not triggering any E's with the MIDI. There's probably some other thing in this project that's like screwing with something. Let me maybe try use channel 2. Oh, that's better. Okay, I'll fix the time issue in a sec. I'll show you what I do to like correct it. So let's just solo the kick and the bass. No, sorry, mute the bass and just the kick and then the synth channel as well. And I actually want to turn off this like reverb that's playing here. So it'll be just like a pluck sound. And then you can time it up using an oscilloscope. I think there's a limiter on the output channel. That's why the timing is a little bit off than the usual when you set it on the grid to the sample rate. Yeah, it's really out of time. It must be because I'm streaming as well. That's better. There's that other note again. That's so strange. I don't know what the is going on here. John Damage. Yes, I could have used the ARP plugin, but I kind of like to program it at the end. And hear the notes as I put them in. Sometimes it doesn't end up in an ARP, sometimes it does, you know? Shit, that is the best fucking delay I've ever heard. Excuse my language. Yo, that is so sick. I was wondering, like, why do these sound so out of time? But I think it's because this one channel is not going through to the group. Yep, exactly. So, if you guys were wondering what was happening with those drops, I was going for that wonky vibe. Sorry if I'm missing anything. I see a lot of chat happening over here. What's up, Alex Drain? How are you doing? Nice kick and bass combo. Thank you very much. Sorry, you guys. I'm just skimming over it to check like who's at me, because it's just so much easier to read. Shame that I have to leave. Okay, all good. This stream should be up on my channel after So yeah, you're welcome to watch it whenever you want. So for those who are wondering what's happening with that patch, I'm going to explain it, like how that weird sound is actually being generated. Let me explain that for you guys. So let me just solo this again. So this guy, what's happening here? There's this input here on the Mimiophone, which modulates the rate in like micro increments. So when you set the zone like really, really high, it kind of allows you to create these kind of phasey, filtery things. And that's currently being modulated by the Wogglebug's random. So we can actually like change that amount of random on there. And then we can actually modulate the zones as well. I think this is also being modulated by this. And that basically like switches between the different zones. And you can actually see when it's a different zone when that color there changes. And you get beautiful granular glitchy things. Best delay ever invented. That's a whole FX Twin track right there. I don't even know what's happening now. I think the repeats, there's like a modulation going in there and it's too high as I stopped it. Yeah, there we go. Amazing. What's your go-to delay for Car Plus leads? Do you mean in the modular realm? I haven't quite experimented too much with this for kind of Car Plus, like tuned leads. I'm not sure if the Mimeophone does that very well, but I'm sure there's very cool experimental stuff like, tuning that, setting the zones up really high kind of gets this almost synthy-like character. And then using rate modulation, you can actually send some pitch in there, but I'm not sure how, I'm not sure whether it's V-arced, if that makes sense. For VST, it's a tough one. Like what I'll usually do is I will actually, first of all, I think kilohertz resonator, it's basically a delay and it gets some pretty Car Plus like tones out. That's a really nice tool, but it's not like a traditional delay. Otherwise, I will actually put the delay on and time it to the frequency and then render it out and load it as like a wavetable or something like that. Damien is asking, hey, you send the MIDI info from the synth into the DAW just with a MIDI cable plugged into the sound card. I've actually got it running the other way around, so the MIDI is coming out of the DAW into the synth with a MIDI cable, yes. And that's plugged into a hex inverter mutant brain, and that basically decodes the MIDI into a CV gate signal. So yeah, I'm going to take a 2-minute break real quick and let me play. I'm not going to play the synth because I'm going to have to just time it quickly. That might take some time. So I'll just play some of the other elements and stuff that we've got so far on the track for those who may have just tuned in. Not all of the sounds did come from the modular though, keep in mind. Cool, I will see you guys shortly. I think those like granular glitchy things that we made could work really well. Which one is which now? Getting confused. Could work really well in this kind of breakdown. Could kind of process those a little bit and play around there. Let's just see though. I might have to send this to... Okay, well, let me create a new channel here. It'll just be easier, I think. This is going to be a sound effect. So we can send this to the sound effects group. And then it's automatically going to change the timing because of the synths, blah, blah. How many oscillators do you have in your rack? At the moment, in the rack that I'm using for this stream, only 2, but the Wogglebug kind of has audio capabilities, but I wouldn't quite call it an oscillator. It's more like a sound source, random sound source kind of thing. But Mind Phaser also, it's kind of like 2 oscillators in one, and Platts is kind of like a ton of oscillators in one, but you can only kind of use one at a time. So just those 2 I find are so versatile, and it's like Platts is basically digital and the Mind Phaser is analog, so it's kind of got the best of both worlds there, so you can stack them up if you need, etc., etc. The Platts has got wavetable capabilities, although you can't load your own wavetables and that kind of thing, but still very, very capable thing, that one. I don't know if you'll even be able to fit that in the track, but I'll save that for another day, possibly. Let's get this lead slotted in here. think maybe here we can bring in like a slightly less crazy version of that melodic thing. We can maybe like dumb down a little bit on those modulations that are happening. Let's just go like this. And then we can re-enable these tracks here. That's too much. Let's not modulate like the time and the repeats. So these little attenuator thingies are super handy if you're in a like limited rack space, because you don't need like an extra VCA if you just want to turn the volume down on like an amount of modulation or something. Okay, that sounds nice. I want to record that in. Holan Mundi, how you doing, dude? I see you use the Dope for XVCA. Have you taken a look at the IntelliGel? Yeah, man. A friend of mine was selling that for really cheap, so kind of does 2-in-1 with the mixing. So you can like mix 2 channels of audio. So yeah, it's really handy in that regard because I've got like 2 oscillators in that rack. So it's kind of a crude mixer and VCA if I need it. But I definitely, I have had my eye on the IntelliGel, of course, but it's pricey. I should probably like transition it here into like a pad type of thing, because it kind of like loses the pitch, like the track kind of goes a bit off there. I think the bass was phase plant and then resampled. I can't be too sure though. It's like it was a bit older, and then I'm like redoing it. If that makes sense. So, what could be cool is let's do like some grid things. Maybe here. Oh wait, are those grids there already? I can just remove these. So I just want to put in like a long note, and then we can maybe sequence some grids on the actual synth. So what I want to do here is mix a couple of channels together, but do like a kind of grid thing where that kind of like main stabby thing we can do like center, and then have maybe two like FM things panned in the sound stage. All the sounds inclusive the drums made with that rack. No, the drums I don't believe. Most of the leads and stuff were, but the bass and the kick, no, and the drums, no. Most of the leads, except for like a couple, but I believe most of the leads and the track was, it started off as like an idea as a patch in the rack, yeah. So the soundstage thingy we're gonna do with this nearness mixer. So how this works is it's got like inputs that span like up and down from the center point, and then these two outer points are like the outputs, and the closer you get there, the more it pans it left or right, if that makes sense. So it's a pretty nifty little thing for doing these kind of like panned grid type of things. Hope you guys are following, because yeah. Anyway, so let's just patch the outputs into the like stereo inputs of the Mimia phone, and then that sound that we had into like the center channel, and now we can try and make like some FM stuff, possibly with plats. Check out Vital synthesizer. You can make everything in there. It's amazing and it's free. I would say get the paid version because you get the text to speech, but yeah, I've got plenty of videos on how to make sounds in Vital. Excuse me, sir, have you heard of our Lord and Savior Vital synthesizer? So what I actually want to do here is I want to melt this output of the plats so that I can send like two variations, so like two channels of the same audio into VCAs and then gate them like separately to create like a stabby thing. And I'm going to use the Euclidean circles to trigger the stabby things. I actually got to turn this into FM mode. I think it's the third one down. Okay, so this mixer, this stereo field thing is called the nearness. How this works is, okay, I explained that. So I'm going to patch one of these FM thingies into either side here, and we can just like play around where we patch it in, and that's going to change like how much it's panned, if that makes sense. Yeah, we were triggering A now, so let's just go in there. See how this sounds. Okay, let's make this other channel now. I do apologize, the lights on my third ring of Euclidean circles, it doesn't work. We can like filter one of these channels before the VCA, or both of them, and create like different sounds using the filters. Yeah, man, it is the definition of using your ears for the third Euclidean circles. How you doing, Dada? The problem, though, is that the reason that the module is so sick, I don't want to stop this because it sounds so cool and I might lose it, but here goes. The reason the module is so sick is because of the visual feedback that you get from it, and it's so easy to just tweak. And both the third ring and the knobs, they're supposed to light up, and the knobs are supposed to give you some feedback as to like what mode you're in and stuff. So it's already a little bit difficult, but I've kind of learnt my way around it. But yeah, let me be right back. I'll see you guys shortly. I actually had the idea that I wanted to show you guys more of the functions of this Ornament and Crime Hemispheres mode, but I kind of just got like very carried away there. So what we can maybe do is start to look at like a simpler patch and then flip through some of the modes on this guy. So I'm going to maybe just like unpatch things a little bit, and then we can just look at something a little bit simpler. Now that we've gone through a bunch of like sound design stuff, we can look at more kind of like technical capability type things, I guess. But let me actually just play through the track without the synth input, just the few things that we've added for those who are just tuning in now. Okay, so what I've done quickly is just patched like a simple saw wave into a filter, into a VCA, and then into like the effects and stuff. So I want to see if we can maybe create like a sequence using the ornaments and crime, or, you know, like I said, this hemispheres mode basically has like two separate little modules built in, and you can like flip through all these different modes, and there's tons. So for example, there's one that's a quantizer, so we could put in the key of the track. I believe this is F sharp Phrygian, and then any modulation we send in, the output will be like automatically like quantized into that pitch. So we could sequence like random things and create like sequences that we program, or we could use like random modulators to send pitch to do different things. So I'm going to experiment a little bit here with different methods. So let's take the pitch output from, this will be the C of Ornaments and Crime, and let's send it pitch from the CV output of this Wogglebugs random over here. So at this point, we would need to trigger the VCA. So let's just do it on every like clock hit. Silly me, I'll actually have to put it into the CV input here. There we go. But let's clock this as well, just so it's like at a sensible rhythm. So no matter what signal we send in here, it's going to come out with pitch that's sensible to the scale because we've quantized it. Hemisphere, you are producing the sound in a special space. So this module, Ornaments and Crime, has like a alternative firmware called Hemispheres firmware. And the reason it's called Hemispheres is because it splits the module into two. So it's got like two mini modules with a lot more kind of like, so like you can use the one and the other, whereas previously if you wanted to quantize, you'd use 4 quantizers, which nobody really needs that many I mean, most of the time it's like you just want a root note and then one quantizer, you know what I mean? So it kind of like gives there's less usability but more intuitiveness, if that makes sense, with the Hemispheres mode, especially if you're doing like live patching and stuff, because you can swap the mode of the other side, like this side here, without affecting what's happening on this side here. So for example, we've got like a trigger sequencer here, which we can enable, and then we can create like triggers for this thing. Let's send it a clock signal. I believe it would go into trigger input number 1. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen, that little thing is like jumping down. It was like moving up and down. So we can actually edit each of these like steps here individually. It kind of works in binary, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, check this out. Okay, I'm being silly. I've actually got to assign the trigger output here to the VCA. So yeah, it's got the triggers sequencer mode, which is pretty cool. It's got either a dual 8-step sequencer or a 16-step, like a single 16-step sequencer, which is pretty cool. Let me swap this around to the Euclidean's circles, and then we can investigate one of the other modes on this side here. I'm going to modulate this filter with a bit of this woggle output here. So if that kind of like randomization is too much, one of the cool things about this is this has kind of got a 5-step sequencer, kind of like a Buchla style sequencer built in. Let me just find it here. There's so much stuff to actually like cycle through. You can get confused sometimes. So yeah, it's got a 5-step sequencer. So if we send the output of this into the input of the other channel, so we're kind of like using two modules, one module within itself, like the output into the input, if that makes sense. It would be the A output into the 3, and then we actually want to trigger this with the clock as well. And now we've got a step sequencer. Oh, that's so cool. It could even work for like a hip hop beat. It's got like an offbeat groove to it. So what I want to do is try randomize and then use this deja vu in marbles to kind of like snapshot a randomization of melody and then send it through to this quantize. So, and then we can explore one of the other modes here. So let's check out how we would do that. I'll send the CV over there. Oh no, it must go in there. So for those who didn't catch what's going on there, Marbles is basically a random generator, but this deja vu section at the top here allows you to kind of like record in, I guess it's like a retrospective MIDI record. So it allows you to kind of like record in, I don't want to stop it because it sounds so good, but anyway, let me just turn the filter down a bit. Well, I can actually turn that down. So it's almost like a retrospective record in that like it snapshots what just happened, and then you can cycle through like a bit of history and find like a really cool melody that's randomly generated, but you loop it so it kind of sounds like you've programmed it, if that makes sense. So very cool way of randomly generating something that sounds musical. So let's have a look at some of these other modes here. Yeah, total recall on a random generator, but not only that, is check this out. So it's kind of like snapshotted this thing, and the length here is like the amount, so you can like close in on that, so you can like make shorter and shorter loops, or you can kind of like cycle through the history of it, so you can kind of like move it slightly to another part of where it recorded the sort of random for like a fill, and then bring it back to the melody that you had. So it's really cool for like creating something randomly, creating a groove out of it, but then being able to kind of like shift it and alter it and play with it like musically. It's such a clever module. Yeah, so check this out. If we move this Deja Vu, it'll kind of change the melody. Yeah, dude, making videos needs to come with a financial warning as well. I'm going to be right back. I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks, Ghoul Gambit, for that. Yeah, I always forget because I usually use like random stuff that's pretty clocked already, but I forget that like all audio will have a bit of latency, so there's a bit of stuff. But yeah, thanks for that. One of the other things I want to show you guys in Hemispheres mode is this kind of primitive kick and snare synthesizer. This thing is crazy, man. It's got it's like a whole like a whole synth on its own. But yeah, it's got like a primitive kick and snare generator. So what we can maybe do here is use this nearness to... Yeah, what we can do is we can actually swap this routing around. So we can go from the synth into the mimeophone, then the mimeophone into like some stereo here, and then out into the reverb or something. So let's just play around here with some routing. Now I want to patch the drums through the VCA into like the mid channel here. And then we can maybe trigger it with the Euclideans. I think it's just that lead sound is too loud. So I'm going to use an attenuator to turn that down a bit. Now hearing this like drum sound, I think it could be cool to actually like maybe create like that same sort of glitchy thing, like that granular glitchy thing that we did. See if we can do that with a mimeophone again. I want to take that lead out possibly though. Maybe we can create some like hi-hatty type things with the plats. I think that could be cool. Okay, so I'm going to mix everything into the nearness first, and then from there into the other things. So here I probably want to melt this so that it's like a stereo. And then send it here. And here, and then out into the mimeophone. Which way is more logical? Gotta save cables. Okay, getting there. Okay, so how did we do it again? It was modulating the zones and the time. That's how Aphex Twin makes music, I think. I think we are straying far out of the territory of Psytrance now. I think I'm going to call it a day. It's getting pretty late. I can hear my dogs are getting hungry. What is going on there? It's kind of amazing, but I can't figure it out. Yeah, I think it's getting to the point where I'm struggling to figure it out too. So it's probably a good idea to call it a day. Let me give you a quick explanation. The Ornaments in Crime is creating a kick and snare sound. Let me turn these effects off. Ornaments in Crime is creating like a kick and snare sound, and Platts is creating that like hi-hat sound. And then Mimeophone is like a delay, but like every parameter on it is being modulated pretty much. And then it's going through a reverb, and some of those parameters are being modulated. So this is the dry sound. Then we add some delay. And then some reverb. Okay, that's definitely it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon. What's going on?